As I was taking a shower this morning and feeling sensations of the water drops on my skin, I felt called to record this video for you. I think I want to burst the bubble of some spiritual ideas that were a lot of people were conditioned by. It's very common for many spiritual communities to think, communities to subscribe to. So we think that there is truth to that. So let's look at one idea. You cannot seek happiness outside of yourself. You cannot find it there. You have to seek it within. Well, it's a good thought. It evokes desire for inner work. But let's look at it from standpoint of ultimate truth. Not a truth of someone who said so, but ultimate truth. If there is truth to the fact, when I say truth to the fact, truth to the idea, it's still idea, right? That all there is energy. You can say it informational field. You can call it God, consciousness, awareness, the one, the God, the creator. Something permanent, never changing in a sense, permanent. So if all is the one, and we see the reality, non-dual reality, as factual event, or factual phenomena, I not say state because it's not a state. It exists beyond the state, beyond the perceiver of a state, right? So if non-dual beingness is the truth, then how it can be possible to have within and without? If all is the one, it's the one. It's not two and not more. It's the one. So what is within and what is without? How can we seek or not seek happiness outside of ourselves? And how can we instead seek it only within ourselves? What is within? What is without? What is external to us? What is internal? How are you going to look at within? Within what? Within your body? So then if you look at within your body, embodied physical sensations through which you perceive your emotional reality, or even some people perceive spiritual reality through the sensations. Oh, I have light, I see light, so there is some spiritual event happening, right? But there is some perceiver of the light. Light is a sensory experience in a way, right? So if you truly look at what we are through the filter of the body perception, then it's not the one. Then it's my body versus your body, my body-mind versus your body-mind, but there is not one in it. Right? There is no one. And right now we are going through that just logically. I'm not even inviting you yet if you did not experience the absolute. If you haven't experienced it, then just let's follow logic. When you experience it, then it becomes indisputable that there is a trick in it. The whole idea of happiness, first of all, it's a separate trick. Happiness versus unhappiness. Who is seeking a state? Because happiness is a state, it's emotion. Why do we give priority one emotion versus another? How do we prioritize? Based on what? Based on our conditioning. There is no other answer to that. We were conditioned to seek for happiness. Some cultures were not even conditioned. So when you ask them how you're doing, they actually tell you how they're doing. They're not telling you, I'm great, I'm fine, I'm doing just like that. Which never true, because in reality, how we are doing is ever-changing. It's emotions that are flowing, one flowing in another, and it's ever-changing emotional state, it's ever-changing content of the mind that attributes to following them emotional states is attributed to, right? So it's wrong unwise to look for happiness outside, and it's wise to look for it inside. Well, invitation is it wise to look for happiness? Where can we find it? Where is it? Where is it located in time and space? And what is it in the first place? Is it some state, heightened state, emotional? Well, is it permanent? It never can be. The world it consists of opposites. It's built on opposites. Then together are the one. The one is experiencing itself, if I put it in the words, through the opposites of this world. Black and white, morning, night, light and dark, feminine, masculine. All are the opposites, but they all are contained in the one, the ultimate, from where everything else arises, even our illusion that we are this particular life form, my illusion that I'm Olga, right? But we have so many bodies, and if we go, see, the word is always failing. If I say that we go deep, now the question is deep where, right? I will now try to locate with the deep. Some people start to talk in the heart. Well, heart is a pumping organ. That's what heart is. So it's not in the heart we are going. It's just semantics here, right? But if we go deeply into state of investigation, let's put it this way, then we notice that any state is arising and it arises and subsides. Every state. Happiness arises, it subsides. Unhappiness comes, it arises, it subsides. None of it though, it starts and ends. There is no beginning, no end there. It's a fluid, ever-morphing states. Seek for one state, it's abandoned all other. And now we are fragmenting what is. So there is illusion, the concept of fragmentation, while in reality it's not fragmented. But we give it beginning and the end, which is illusion, which is just sense of compartmentalizing. Never could pronounce that. Life to fit it into our mental structures. So it's easier operate in the world when we have structures and we can put them on certain shelves and kind of keep it all in order, mental order. But this order is illusion too, because there is no order per se in reality. Everything is just happening. We can say there are laws by which it's happening. Well, there are laws according to which it's happening in relation to perceiver. But it's just simultaneously happening. No beginning, no end. It's all happening simultaneously. And from that sense, another myth that I want to invite you to re-engineer for yourself and look into the tip. It's a myth of reincarnation. By no means I say there is no such thing as reincarnation. But what I invite you to investigate is, what is it? What is it that changes the bodies? Because there is a lot of build-up around reincarnation, and we start to, play psychics and see in life of Olga that she was queen of that and another in past life, and another she was, warrior of that, and and it's fun game for the ego. Feels good, right? Doesn't it feel good? Because by that stories we can explain the stories of our lives, which is just stories and stuff like that. It just feels good to the ego. It's like, I'm bigger. I'm not just that little thing that The common thought is always, I'm failure, I'm not enough. The humans go through that so much. I can hear it in my work all the time, and that's what we're gonna work with, right? It's not enoughness, the perception of not enoughness, the perception of lack, which is just illusion. Lack is illusion. There is never lack of anything, because all there is the one. How can anything be lacking in the one? It's all perception of the individualized mind. What does reincarnate? And in what? Yes, the eternity has many bodies. It has many bodies now, and it has any bodies through eternity. But what is transitioning from one body to another? By taking reincarnation as a phenomena of individualized mind or soul, and we say that it transitions from one body to another, then we again play with duality. Then we say duality is real, non-duality is not, because it's a separate mind, it's a separate soul that travels through the body from one body to another body. It's one soul travels, and another myth, it evolves. It evolves. I don't know. Evolution assumes that it was not enough here and became more of here. Became better, there's some improvement. I will just take it as its experience, the consciousness, the oneness, the that from which everything arises, experience itself through the vehicles of which body is, and all its sensory apparatus and ability to perceive and react and act, and then go back from action again to reaction and perceptions and so on and so forth, a never-ending cycle. So what does reincarnate and into what? It seems to me that consciousness has no attributes on its own. The attributes arise in the form, part of which the bodies are. So there is never one single, it's not like you take thing and put it, call it soul, and put it in the body, and the thing and put it in another body. It's this ever-morphing field of everything is contained in every body, in every life in the body that arises. So you and me, we contain everything. It's just the personality has some attributes. One expressions of personalities are stronger than other at different times of our life in one body, and the same way it expresses itself a little bit different in another body. But it's not one single soul travels. Stories and twists in it and start to, oh, now I understand why I'm that screwed up. I was burned in another life. Something like that. Everybody were burned in another life. Everybody were loved in another life. Everybody loved in another life. Passionately, lost, gained. Again, that's all really just illusion that we lost and gained, because there is never luck. We never gain anything, we never lose anything. But in the body, that's how it feels, that there is this form, container in which everything contains. Well, no, everything contains in the one. The one contains the phenomenal world as well. The world in which everything ever changes and arises and feels alive, because it is. There's aliveness. Is every moment of our life is aliveness, and it doesn't matter what we feel in the moment. It's all aliveness. That's why when we start transformational work, I see people get so lost in the idea of improvement. Now I will be better. I will self-develop. Well, develop in what? You can undevelop into understanding and wisdom. You can undevelop your condition that you are this body. And when you experience the absolute, it becomes the fact. You never can deny that the fact. You can argue that while you have not experienced it, or you think that you have not experienced because you don't remember that in this life, in this time, and it might still come as experience to you. But I'm not talking theories. I can only speak from experience of this body-mind into seeing the absolute. There is no such thing as individual body. There is only idea of it. If that's true, and from experience it is, then everything that arises is folded into the absolute. It's not separate. There is a lot of disputes. Oh, non-duality versus duality. Well, but duality is a form in which non-duality expresses itself, because everything folded in non-duality. Every separate expression is folded in the one. They don't exist separately from the one, isn't it? There's nothing is separate from the one. The one. The count is one. Yes? So in that sense, who is traveling through time? What soul is traveling through time? What soul is growing? Where is it growing? From what? It's always been, it's always will be. Everything is experience. That's that. If everything is just experience, then who is looking for happiness and why? Why are we looking for happiness in the first place? Its next question is, why are we choosing to look there or there? Why out there instead within? Or within instead of out there? If there is no within and out there, what difference? I started this conversation, not a conversation, sharing that I had sensations of the water drops when I had a shower this morning. Is water and its drops out there? Or is it experience? One single experience? Is it Olga experiencing water drops? Are those water drops falling on face and shoulder and breast and tummy of Olga? Or it's the experience, one single, separate from nothing experience? Because what is it separate from? There is water, there is tub, there is body standing on the tub, there is floor, there is door, there is air. Nothing is separate from anything. One thing, perceived form, folding into another, continuous another. And then it becomes a person, another person in which it all flows in. It feels and looks separately because the mind conditioned that it is. But it's all one single experience. So to say and to limit the whole human quest for truth, because when we forget the truth, that's what we do. We try to find it again, and then we do it again and again and again. Everybody does that, unless they're not interested at all. But at some point, we're all interested. When we are interested, become interested in it, because we start to experience form as unfulfilling phenomena, unfulfilling for the mind, the ego. Phenomena, because it's phenomenal. Phenomena is unfulfilling because it's phenomenal, it's ever-changing, it's non-permanent. And we try to find comfort in permanency. Permanency of career, permanency of, fame and recognition and status and I don't know where to go with it. There is no such thing as permanency. It's very hard at first because everything feels like it slips through fingers. I just found a resting place. Like that fluffy pillow behind me. I just find the place to rest in the relationship. Now they're gone again. Like every relationship. Because we perceive to be individuals with our own ways, with our own preferences, self-importance, idea of self-importance. I will fight for my independence. I'll fight for it because I'm so important. My independence is important. Independent from what? Separate from what? Everything is happening. Awareness is there that everything is happening. When we are silent, everything's just happening. And now we continue our circle. Okay. When you look at relationships, which is always a beautiful subject because people come to therapy or spiritual teachers or coaches or any transformational work, relationships, end of relationships, or dissatisfaction of relationships, the form that it takes, it's a very big factor because that's the easiest opportunity to experience heartbreak. We call it heartbreak. Well, as we know, heart doesn't break. It's been there, it will continue to be there, and it beats, pops. What breaks is our illusion that we can find happiness through this particular person. Well, there are so many illusions right there already. Those that there is a person separate from us. It feels like that. It feels so much like that and looks so much like that. But this is an illusion, ultimately. Because there is nothing separates us besides the idea. So, first illusion is there is a person. Second illusion, that they bring us happiness that we lack. The illusion of lack. Then illusion that happiness is a state to seek versus unhappiness. That happiness is the goal, the purpose of it all. There's so many illusions there. So relationships are an impossible trick until there is enough wisdom to just let be in there and not trying to solve anything. Not create problems and not try to solve them. Because as soon as we create problem, it's purely mental construct. As soon as we try to solve problems, it's even more fun game because we solve mental construct. We solve what doesn't exist in the first place. And then we say happiness is good thing, good to have, and happiness is not good to have. But why? Pain is not good to have. Pain is something to eliminate, but why? Why do we eliminate any emotional state at all? It's all the one. Oh, it's unpleasant. Yes, it is. But it's all one. There is some pleasure in life and something unpleasant. And it's those opposites from which life, through which. Yes, there is pleasure. And there is that doesn't bring pleasure. And who does it bring pleasure to in the first place? Who is that seeks pleasure all the time? Well, it's exactly that entity, that thought, that can sustain relationships. Because it's always seek pleasure, self-fulfillment. So another person becomes the means to your ends. And then, when they don't give you as much pleasure as your wounded self needs, you become violent. That's how a lot of men, especially men, become violent. They don't get what they want in the amount they want when they want it. You become a vehicle, a tool for their self-fulfillment. And if they can't, and I say they, I don't mean necessarily man versus women. Women can be violent too. I guess it's just example closer to home. So you become a means for someone's end. Who wants to be a means to someone's end? And then, of course, you can have illusion that you can heal someone with your love. That's another illusion too. Again, it's another illusion very close to my home, that my love can heal it all. In another person, it can heal anger in another person, inherited amount that's so repressed, and you feel that your love can bring it, boil it through, burn it through, and bring healing. And that's a partial illusion too, because there is really nobody to heal. Nobody who heals, even though it looks like, especially for us transformational practitioners, we feel that we heal. We have tools and methodologies and modalities, and they're all wonderful. But it's not us that really doing anything. It's just a process of we catalyze, we facilitate. We're simply a part of experience, let's say. That's even better probably sounding. We are part of the experience, that's all. So there is no healing, really. There is nobody to heal. Every individualized mind, soul, in every single life has a combination of experiences to experience. It can have variants, depend on the chain of events and how they unfold. And then we start to have conversation, of course, about free will versus, karmic predispositions. And we can speculate on that. But if we understand that everything happens simultaneously, there is no time even outside of our perceptions, then healing as a process become quite questionable, isn't it? Who is healing? From what? Everything is expressed in this life. Everything that exists, meant to exist. And it might take some form. It must take some form. Without form, it cannot exist. It can only be expressed through the form. So the form must exist. So who are we healing? Are we trying to eliminate one expression of life because we feel that some other expression must be dominant or predominant? Probably a better word. And one state should be predominant. Happiness should be, unhappiness should not be. But how the consciousness, the eternity will experience itself? How can it experience joy and happiness when there is nothing to compare to? I mean, consciousness comparing, it doesn't have a human mind. It doesn't have human attributes. But the opposite must exist. So one can be experienced against another, and vice versa. And we are saying, well, we know better. You eternity go to rest. We know, as humans, we know better. And we eliminate everything that it's not convenient for the ego, and we leave everything else that gives us pleasure. Well, that's quite arrogant way to approach life, isn't it so? And you know how I know it? I don't know much, but that's I know. Life always shows us how arrogant it is, because our effort takes us only that far. Our efforts to eliminate one thing to make another stay and have right to stay, validity. So as soon as we invalidate something, it becomes very personal, it feels very personal. But we go for, we get ourselves further from the truth, per se. We move away from the truth. of existence. So who is there to heal? If there must be violence within a man, then there must be violence within a man. I can feel personally, I can feel a little sadness about it, but that's that. I feel sad about it. And again, even sadness is because of my idea that it should not be that. There should not be violence in the world. There should not be violence in my home. I can heal the violence. I can heal anger. My love can heal it all. I know how. I healed so many people, I know how. Well, the beauty of fall of illusions. There's so many illusions. I can do that. It is I that can do that. I that impose its will. I know that what's better. There is something to heal, and I can heal that within someone else, within myself. What if I don't heal it? What if I don't have illusions that I can or must? What if I just experience what must be experienced, through which transformation happens because it's always happening? And when it feels that there is nothing else to learn, you walk away if that's what needs to be done. And then you can do many things around it. You can pretend that you heal from it, or you can just understand that acceptance is all there is. You don't even need to accept, and you definitely don't need to let it go. It just exists within our experience. Our past as memory, it just imprint. It becomes an idea at this point, through which certain, I can say learning happens, but it's probably not exactly the right word, because even learning assumes some sort of evolution and improvement, and I'm not a big fan of it lately, I should say, because everything just is. Life is experiencing itself through what brings us pain, what brings us joy, sadness, bubbly happiness, sensory experiences, desire, sense of abandonment. I mean, all of it. And then people come and we want to heal from what is hard to handle. But the only reason it's hard to handle because we're conditioned that it's not okay to have it within our experience. Is looking for happiness within versus externally. Because that's why we started the conversation about this spiritual myth, that that's what should be happening. And psychological myth, because it's very common for a lot of therapies as well. You have to look for happiness within. You cannot find it externally. I say both is equally just representation of aspect of the truth. Whether you look for it within or without, it's still illusion, because there is no within and without. Everything that is happening within your awareness, within my awareness, inside as bodiless sensations, I don't know, tummy crawling, and it's supposed to mean something. Some people get on meditation cushion, it just became another movement. And trust me, I know, because I've been through that. It's not something that I deny by observing or deny at all. But it just, when we look at it, people spend hours and hours on meditation cushion, twisting their legs, sitting in particular pose, like it means something necessarily. I know that we were conditioned that it is, and if you sit that way versus that way, it happens for you that way versus that way. And you get, more light on you or something like that. So we sit on meditation cushion, we close our eyes and we go within. What does it mean within? Where do we go? Where do we go from sitting on a meditation cushion exactly? Are we observing? Okay, so if we're observing what's happening in the body, and then we imagining light and sending it through the body. Okay, well, like, I don't have to sit down with twisted legs to imagine things because I do it 24/7. So do you. We imagine things all the time. So that's not necessarily the reason to sit for hours, do nothing, and stare at the wall, or sit with closed eyes and pretend that you're going anywhere. Oh, I observe bodily sensations. Well, what prevents you from observing bodily sensation when you, I don't know, skydiving? What does it matter? Or making love, observe your bodily sensation. That's actually pretty good timing to do that. There are some good sensations going on. Oh, I observe my emotions. Well, whose emotions are those? What is it to observe? I mean, it's good to observe so you understand yourself. You learn the boundaries of definition of the self with time. But again, you don't need to sit with twisted legs for hours and your butt glued to cushion to discover who you are. You can observe yourself no matter what you do, when you eat, even when you speak to someone, you still can observe because the presence is there. If you're awake to it, the presence is there. The awareness is there. So as right now, I'm talking to you, I still observe what's happening. I feel my breath, my breath, my. I hear the words, and right away I can see where they point to something other than truth, because that's the faculty of the word. They never can point to truth. They attempt to, but they always kind of take you away from it, because what I try to transfer through the words to you will be perceived very differently by you through your biases and your other filters. And I can only do my best to get you close to what I actually mean, but you will perceive it something else, as something else. Right? So observing, if you make it a practice, can happen any moment, at any time. So to say I go within just because you sit on your cushion, twist your legs and close your eyes, if you think that that's take you within somehow other than if I'm cooking and observing, that's a big mistake. It's complete baloney that you were conditioned to believe in. I'm not saying meditation is bad. I'm not saying anything is bad. You can do anything. You can sleep and call it meditation, because there is plenty of observation through lucid dreaming and so on and so forth. Awareness is still there, just different form and different degree of it. And the reality takes a little bit different form too, if you notice in the dream. But there's pretty interesting reality going on there too. So ways within. I want you to show me that within, that we should seek happiness versus externally. And what is that external? How external is it? It's outside of my body? Or no? Or we have aura. Wait a minute. We have aura, right? It's not the thing that we talk. My aura is bigger than your aura. Obviously. Okay, so it's not limit of the body, not skin. So it's aura. Okay, good. Where is that aura? Where is it aura? Okay, some people sense aura. So good. We sense aura. So okay, here. So then this is still within. What about all other forms that bodies take? What about forms that consciousness take? That we actually fundamentally are, not the body. Because that is permanent. The body ever changing. The mind is ever changing. No thought is permanent. Nothing belongs to me and exclusive to me. We have all thoughts recycled through generations and generations, through human generation, through human lives. You and me have billions of similar thoughts. So, how do we identify who is you, who is me? You can perceive it. There is a perception of it. But ultimately, on the level of absolute, these perceptions don't represent the truth. They represent aspect of truth. In phenomenal world, in the world of changing forms that arise and subside. Isn't it so? So way that within, that we have to seek happiness versus externally. Why do we eliminate external way of experiencing the self? Because that's how self is experienced, through perceived interaction of perceived separate beings. So saying that, let's say, seeking happiness through career is not the right way to go. You have to look at within, or seeking through relationship. You have to go within. Well, where is within? Where is within? Through your thoughts. So your thoughts is within. Thoughts is your thoughts. They represent you as little as your body cells. That ever changing too. You know? The way is that within, to seek happiness versus without. And is happiness to be searched for in the first place? Because it's the pursuit itself that creates misery. Because we're always comparing, am I happy enough right now? Am I as happy as another Joe right there? Because he speaks on stage with such confidence and charisma. He looks, or she looks, very happy. Am I as happy? No, I'm not as happy. I'm not speaking on the stage. I don't have the fame and recognition. I didn't realize my potential as much. Am I as happy as him or her? Or am I as happy as I want to be? Because I definitely want to be unlimitedly happy. But I feel happiness and my happiness is limited. So there must be more happiness to seek for, to search for, because what I have is not enough. Never enough. Feels like. Just never enough. I, as a being, is never enough. I am never enough. That's what mind says. I'm never enough. Self, I'm never enough for them, for him, for her, I'm never enough. But this is illusion. There is no luck, because enoughness is the nature of the existence. It's the nature of the self. Enoughness, everythingness is folded in the one. So when you start to play the game of this versus that, that's illusion. There's no righteousness in it that represents the truth. It's only what exists is righteousness, which is the byproduct of the ego. But there is no truth in that. When we state that this is the right way to live, but this is not, even moral and ethic is illusion. It doesn't mean that, we should not play fair in life per se, right? From standpoint of ethic and morality. But even that, what does it even mean? Fair. Fair to whom? Who defines what's fair? Life defines what's fair. What's happening is fair, even if it doesn't look like. It's fair. Why it is? Well, there's a lot of whys we can ask, but we can speculate. Well, it fares because everything has a right to exist. It must exist. For one to exist, every single opposite must exist. I can go far into why it's not fair. I'd experienced violence in my marriage, and I thought I loved him, and I don't deserve it, and it's not fair. Apparently it was fair, because it must have been experienced on my end and on his end to take both of us to some next place. And I don't mean physical place or mental state even as a place, but from standpoint to allowing consciousness to experience itself, to experience abundance of states, abundance of experiences, abundance of emotions that come with that. Emotions of fear, emotions of guilt, emotions of shame, emotions of anger, emotion of compassion, emotion of love, despite, emotions of so many forms that these emotions take. So I guess to finish it off today, my invitation is seek for your conditioning. Especially when you love to belong. You belong to the group, you belong to community, you belong to teachings and teachers, you belong to churches and I don't know, societies, especially societies, cultures. Investigate your conditioning and compare it to ultimate absolute truth, at least to the degree you know it or can know it today, because you can know it fully, ultimately, on level of absolute. You cannot know everything in the form world, in a world of phenomenal arising and subsiding and changing. You cannot know everything because it's unknowable. But on the level of absolute, everything is knowable and experienced, even in a single moment. When absolute is experienced, the world of phenomenal, the phenomenal world becomes accepted much more, because there is less I that resists one idea versus another idea, one expression of life versus another. It doesn't mean that the sadness doesn't follow, or the anger doesn't follow sometimes. Some other emotions that we consider unkosher, not so kosher. Yes, emotions arise in reaction to different experiences. And that's as part of the experience. And this is who you are ultimately. There is no within and there is no without. All experiences are you. You cannot say, these emotions are not me. Of course, you can say that if you have illusion that something is separate from you. You can say emotions are separate from observer of emotions. That's correct. But even observer is not you. The observer is still perceiver. The observer is still that watches. So there is subject and object still. The I contains observer and observed. Phenomenal and non-phenomenal world folded in one. The nirvana and samsara are the same. So, if you're still searching for happiness, you always will be missing it. If you're actively pursuing happiness, you will be missing it every single time when it's actually there, because you will be measuring it against of some ideal. It is just a mental concept, construct. And if you're trying to search it within, sitting on a meditation cushion, it's not wrong, but it's not any better than going there and, I don't know, making love or making food with friends or watching some movie. Update, mind, what is it? Got the word. Like, not educational or intelligent anyway, but just something for distraction. I mean, there is nothing wrong with any experience that we experience. If it's somehow experienced in the moment, it's for that to be. So denying it, we're denying ourselves, our nature as absolute, in which everything is folded, including your self-perception of individual self. So, going back to my invitation for you today, investigate every single thought that you were taught, every single conditioning, every single line of wisdom that was brought to you by someone other than your experience and observation. Again, yet not forget. Everything is one. So if it was brought to your attention, it was at least worth of looking at, because it was brought into your space. So self, looking at self, but investigating to what degree it's absolute truth. That's my invitation. Because as soon as we take some concept as truth, what doesn't belong to that concept become non-truth. And that's the trick, that's the trap. That's the trap. Happiness is my truth, non-happiness is not my truth. Now I'm going to be suffering all my life. Because I can never live in that truth only. I will live in all of it. I will experience all of it. And I must love all of it. You have no choice but love it. You can resent it, resist it, fight it, bite it. You can do anything you want. But you have no choice but accept it. And it doesn't even matter if you accept it, because who is accepting or unaccepting? It exists. So it's already accepted. Or, better words, no acceptance is needed. It exists. So your fighting is only creation of suffering for yourself and others who perceive to be the bodies. So yeah, that's my invitation to you. Self-investigate, investigate the self, investigate all your ideas, all ideas that you were taught to believe in, you were conditioned to believe in. Because if you suffer, it's because you take some of them as to be true and some as not. Unless it's absolute truth, every other truth is partial. And if it's partial, it has something it doesn't include. And if it excludes something, you will deny it, resist it, and be violent toward it in many different ways. That will harm you and perceived others. With that, my darling, happy holiday. I wish you to have awesome feasts and find happiness in these days out there in external world. Or sit quietly on the cushion and, sprinkle everything with essential oils and enjoy it within. Whatever form of enjoyment comes, may you experience it. And if suffering kicks in, just remember that it's illusion, it's attachment to illusion of some sort. But if pain is experienced or sadness is experienced, I invite you not to feel guilty that, oh my God, it's holiday, why am I feeling bad, everybody else feeling good. Not everybody, trust me. There are billions of people on this planet, as you know. And out of 7 billion people, there are at least millions that feel, for one reason or another, not good this holiday. So you don't have to work hard to change your state, because as soon as you're present to anything you feel, it will go away anyways. Mind gets bored to sit too long for any emotion. Just stay present. So sadness, oh well, then there's sadness. Anger, feel sense of injustice and unfairness against something, usually against an idea in your own head. Don't feel it. It will go away anyways. But don't feel to make it go away. Just feel it. Because it's part of this experience that is so precious. It's precious because it's so alive. Every moment is so alive. You are alive. You are deeply alive. Can I say deeply alive? Some other word I wanted to say, but I forgot. Intensely, how about that? You definitely can be intensely alive. And I love you. Because all there is love. I don't have to know you to love you. All there is love. Even that seems like non-love, still love. It's just how love looks like at that moment and perceived. Much love to you, my dear. Thank you for staying with me that long. and I will see you again sometime soon. Happy holiday. Oh, unhappy holiday. Whatever they are. Holiday to be. Be well.